All right, you know what time it is. We're
Pick
gonna
time.
move on to we're gonna move on to this week, and we're gonna talk about some games. And this is gonna be easy for us to talk about because the games that we want to talk about, we're picking.
Yep.
So, guess who gets to lead off this week?
For the first time, I'm proud. He's finally grown up. He's made it into the winning category. Tyler Siskey teeing off at the number one tee for the first time in his pick'em season.
I have gained the box. I just eagled number 6. I'm ready. I've got the box.
I
I'm ready to
bogeyed.
go.
I had my first bogey of the round. So
Double
I'm
bogey.
double, double bogey. No, I've been shooting par. This one's
You've been shooting
this one-
far, but you
Yes.
double bogey this week. But we're not even gonna talk about last week. I don't even want to do it to you. We're
Okay,
gonna move on.
I'm really surprised, but go ahead. I thought you were going to. Yeah, that was the best about Eddie when he was on. I'm just going to stay humble, guys. Just going to stay humble. You know, I was 5-1.
Oh, he let us know about it every week.
Yeah, I'm just going to be humble. We're just going to be humble. Hey, I was on fire, man. I was 5-1.
I'm surprised
The
we hadn't got a
humility.
text. I'm surprised that we hadn't got a text that said, "Hey, if I was still picking, I'd be 6-0 by now."
Correct. Yeah.
But no, hey, we're heating up. I tell you, I'm feeling good. Like I've got my rhythm down. I've seen ball. This is the time. I told you there was going to be a moment that when I'm getting in my groove, and I've watched enough ball where I'm starting to get on it. So here we go. Pick number 1. It's a game that I will be attending. I'm going to start with that one. A game I am attending.
Okay.
If I got to explain it to people, the fans, they just don't know. I'm going to see a friend of mine, and I'm going to Athens, Georgia this weekend, and I am going to be up front and personal for the Georgia Bulldogs versus the Razorbacks. Okay.
All right. You're going to see it for yourself.
I'm going to see it for myself, and I'm going to get a lot. I mean, it's going to be fun. I get to get live and in person. Get a lot of, it's great to see things.
You're getting a live evaluation. We're going to get a live evaluation.
But here's where I'm going. The Georgia Bulldogs are 18.5-point favorites against Arkansas. I think this line will actually move down. I think Arkansas is like the fan favorite right now. I think a lot of people are going to bet that. I'm not. I'm taking the Dogs minus 18.5, and this is why. And I'm getting to where I'm starting to feel my groove. So I'm going to tell people why I'm picking it. And if they disagree with it, then pick the other way. But here's the deal. This is the way I look at it. All right, Arkansas with KJ Jefferson, he'll go. He is banged up, but he's going to go. They completely dominated and completely dominated game physicality against Texas A&M. They dominated it, okay, and took over the game. KJ Jefferson, as we talked about in the preseason, Arkansas is going to be as good as he can take them. He ran the ball very effectively. However, because of that, he's a big boy now. He is a big, pretty boy. He looks like Cam Newton. He is a big, pretty joker. But he only threw the ball, only attempted 15 passes, okay? They hit the one bomb to Treylon Burks, who's the most underrated receiver in the league. I mean, he's a beast. But they only attempted 15 passes. They're not going to be able to do that this week. They're not. I don't see them scoring. And Georgia's defense may be one of the best defenses ever in the history of college football. I mean, they are unbelievable. I don't see Arkansas scoring past 10, 14 points maybe. And if they do that, so basically what I'm asking myself is, can Georgia score 35 points? The answer is yes, they can. They're getting better on offense. They're getting players back and healthy, which is scary. You're going to see a lot more 12 personnel this week because they're getting the beast back. They're going to be a problem because they're getting better. They're already good on defense. They are getting much better because they're getting healthier on offense. And nobody talks about the running backs because, we got Tank Bigsby at Auburn. We got Jerrion Ely at Ole Miss. And, got Snoop Connor and Henry Parrish. Because Georgia's got like 10 dudes. Everybody they roll out there can play running back. You could make an argument. You really could. You can make an argument with the second, third, and fourth best running back in the SEC are all in the Georgia backfield. I'm going with the Georgia Bulldogs minus 18.5, live and in person. I'm Team Dogs. I got my gear ready to go. I had a special visitors last week. I'm ready to go. Let's go do it. Dogs, I will be there live and in person. Athens, Georgia, Saturday.
Well, I think we know whose hospitality you're getting for the game, because you're definitely not going to be there with Arkansas tickets and Georgia gear.
No.
You know what I mean? You know, so I think we
But
have an
you
idea.
could pick, though. I know, you know, I work with Kirby, Schumann, Trey Scott. I mean, I've worked with a bunch of people there. Matt Luke, I think I worked with before, too. He may be a guy that I may see him while I'm there.
All right. Now, how about this? I got an interesting stat for you. Kirby and 2 of his former assistants are all 4-0. Mel Tucker, Sam Pittman, Kirby Smart.
We may be talking about the Kirby Smart tree before too long.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, Kirby and 2 of his former assistants are all sitting after week 4, 4-0.
Yeah, but somebody else got to go this week, though.
That's the other interesting tidbit is it's a former assistant rolling into Georgia, okay, to try to play him for first time ever. Is it going to be the Nick Saban problem where you can't beat Nick Saban if you're a former assistant, or
it's going to be one this week?
You know what I mean? Or is this going to be an issue that goes the other way? You know, where Kirby gets beat by a former assistant.
I do want to say this though before we leave this game and move on. If you're an Arkansas fan, do not be discouraged about what happens this weekend. Okay, Arkansas they're a complete team now. But I will tell you more later on when we get to a pick I know we're both picking. Georgia's the best football team in America, and I don't even think it's close.
Yeah, you know what?
Hot take.
That is not far off. I just am hard to say that Alabama's not better right now, but that is not far off. I can see you saying that.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, it's hard for me to say, but it is what it is.
Has Georgia played a team like Florida yet?
No.
Yeah, that's going to be the test. You know, because Alabama, until they played Florida, you would have said, I think if before the Florida week, you would have said, by far, Alabama's the best team in the country.
I wouldn't have said by far, but I would have. Here's why I'm saying what I'm saying is they play Clemson, okay, and then you're like look back and you're like, oh, but Clemson's good on defense too, okay.
Right.
But to me, the most impressive thing is how they take care of the games they're supposed to take care of. And how many teams that's a hard – people don't understand that. That's why you see what we're seeing going all over the country right now. That's a very hard thing to do. So, I don't know. I'm sold. So, all right, let's move on. Pick one. Who you got?
Pick one for me. The U of H Cougars, which I'm a graduate of. I got my master's at U of H, okay. Are going to Tulsa, which I used to coach at, okay. So this is hard for me because this is 2 former places that I used to work. And U of H is favored by 3.5, and I think they're going to win this game by more than 3.5.
I like that pick. DJ, I've seen all your picks. I like them, and I cannot argue with you about your picks today, which is scary.
Well, that is scary.
All right, pick number 2 for me, okay? And this is another one, okay? So you said, I'm a rider, right? Once I feel it's like, hey, look, if inside zone is hitting, why run outside zone? You find the weak spot and you pound it home until they stop it. Well, I have found the weak point. It's one that you did not agree with at first, but I think you're starting to come around a little bit. And that is the Wisconsin Badgers. I'm currently 2-0 against the Wisconsin Badgers. And just so everybody knows, and if you don't remember from last week, my lock and my money line was against the Wisconsin Badgers, and it wasn't even close.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Somehow the 1-3. Somehow I don't know if Wisconsin has naked pictures of somebody in Vegas that sets these lines. I don't know, but somehow, some way, the 1-3 Wisconsin Badgers are favorites against the undefeated Michigan Wolverines. I do have to preface this one. Michigan has always been like they're almost like that LSU and Oklahoma is to me, where they're almost dead to me, but they're not just yet. They're on life support, and so I'm giving them one more opportunity, DJ. I'm going with the Michigan Wolverines, and here's the crazy thing, okay? And if you're wagering this weekend, which do it responsibly, but if you are wagering this weekend, for some reason, taking the points which is 1 right now. You can take Michigan plus 1, and your payback is like minus 105. Okay, so your payback, but the money line, if you gave up the point, you actually get less money. So I'm just going with Vegas here. I don't have a problem with the money line, but if you bet the money line for some odd reason, you get less money back than if you take the point. So just take the point. In case they lose 14-13, you push. So I'm taking Michigan plus 1, I guess is what we're saying. Michigan plus 1 for the money part, but I think they win the game outright. And I don't think it's close. And this is why. Graham Mertz, and I love Graham Mertz. I talk great about him on the podcast. He is extremely talented, and I think he's an NFL dream from a pro-style standpoint. He has to learn how to take care of the football. The difference in these big games, and you know this, DJ, you've coached in a bunch of them too. When you watch really good teams play against each other, what you're going to see against the Alabama game and you're going to see in the Georgia games, a lot of these games that are evenly matched comes down to a turnover here and there. And he turns the ball over way too much, and he doesn't take care of the football, and he starts pressing and doing things and getting out of the offense a little bit. So I'm taking Michigan on that factor alone, plus 1. I'm just, like I said, I don't know why Vegas hadn't jumped on this yet, but Michigan really in a landslide. All right, pick 2. Who you got there, DJ?
Pick 2 for me is Texas at TCU. They're 4.5-point favorites, and I think that Texas will beat TCU by more than 4.5 points, and I have this as my lock. In case you didn't know, Texas has not punted the football in the last 2 weeks, has not sent their punt team out on the field in the last 2 weeks. Their punter has not stepped foot on the field since the Arkansas game.
He may not let her.
They are they are rolling on offense. Now, granted, Rice is not at the caliber of Texas. Texas Tech, though, here's a Power 5 team. They've got Power 5 players. And I just think that Texas has really hit their stride. And I think they're better than a 4.5-point favorite against TCU.
I'm going to we have a very loyal listener to this podcast, a good friend of mine who is employed by TCU. I did send him a text today and said, please do not listen to the podcast this week because you're going to be upset with me. Because this is the scariest moment so far in home visit history. Because I am also going with my third pick, the Texas Longhorns, minus 4.5. And guess what? It is also my lock. This Texas-Arkansas game, DJ, has a whole new meaning this week.
No doubt.
Okay?
No doubt.
Right. And here we go. Texas is not even ranked, cuz. They're not even ranked. And all they've done besides the Arkansas game is kick the piss out of everybody. Okay?
Yeah.
They beat, they have
ULL.
dominated every game that they've played. Okay?
Yeah.
Texas may run the table from here on out. I'm just saying, based on what I've seen in the Big 12, I'm not going to be surprised, like if we look up in December and we're having a serious conversation about Texas. Because the way all these conferences are going, and you start looking at how things are matching up and who's got to play who, this is a year that everybody's getting cannibalized, okay? And you're going to see I think you're going to see multiple one-loss teams in the playoff. And usually when you're in the Big 10 and you're in the Big 12 and Pac-12 and all that stuff, you have to be like the undefeated ACC, But look, ACC, what's happened there? They're torn apart, okay, with Clemson doing what they're doing. Ohio State through the whole Big 10, and they're going to cannibalize each other. Ohio State's not going to lose 6 games. You got they got to play Penn State. Indiana's still in there, can throw monkey wrench and everything. Iowa's doing Iowa things. Big 10's messed up, and we know the Pac-12. And Oregon's all they're doing is winning. They're not covering,
right,
which makes people mad, but they're winning. Okay,
right.
But they still got to play USC. They're still going to have to play UCLA. You're going to look up, and there's going to be some one-loss teams in Oklahoma. I don't think Oklahoma finishes the season undefeated. I don't. But we'll see. But I'm taking.
How about this? How about this? Talking about the ACC, the 2 undefeated teams in the ACC right now, okay, are Wake Forest and Boston College. How about that?
Yeah, good for them.
Good for them. Good for them.
But you know what it is. I mean, they're going to slip up and lose one here or there. I mean, it's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting to see what happens come playoff time. The committee is going to be earning their check this. And again, this is what's going to happen. In my opinion, they push back the expansion, right? Well, you're going to look up this year, you're going to have all these one-loss teams. And there's going to be more than ever before. Hey, let's get an expansion. It's going to catapult that into the offseason. So look forward to that. All right,
settle it on the field.
Yep.
Settle it on the field.
Who you got?
Pick 3 for me is Cincinnati at Notre Dame. And Cincinnati is 2.5-point favorites, and this is my money line. I think Notre Dame is going to win this football game outright.
DJ, this is the second scariest moment in home visit history. I do want to let you know that even though in recent weeks I have been questioning my own abilities, had some confidence issues until last week.
And rightfully so. Rightfully so.
But what I have never missed this year, and I'm undefeated. And I said this last week, and you said I wouldn't say that because it'll come. Hey, you make your own luck, right? I am also taking, as my money line pick this week, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at home against Cincinnati. I think, all kidding aside, with all that being said, I think look, Notre Dame, I believe this. I think Notre Dame is a team that plays up to their competition and down to their competition. I don't think they're not now that's tough when it comes to consistency, but when you're Notre Dame, okay, I mean, you're Notre Dame. There's this tradition, an expectation of being good, and you are a undefeated top 10 underdog to a group of 5 school at your own stadium. You got to play with your chip on your shoulder. You got to come.
Oh, no doubt.
And that's what I'm taking. Like, I'm saying to all, like, Notre Dame, you did me good last week, Notre Dame. Okay? Do me good this week. Like, you got to have a chip on your shoulder and, like, be a competitor, man. Like, that would piss me off so much. Like, I would come ready to knock the piss out of somebody for 60 minutes. Okay? Like, you're going to feel the pain. Like, it's an insult. Like, you're insulted as a human being. And it's like Vegas is challenging their manhood. And you either got 2 choices. You come out and you take care of business, or you go back in the corner and you take it. Okay? And I'm going with it. I'm going saying the Fighting Irish are coming out pissed off, and they dominate the game because of athletes.
Well, and you're making a good point. And you and I have had a lot of experience in the South. You know, the majority, maybe all of your career, and a big part of my career has been in the South. And what's always intrigued me is Notre Dame can go anywhere and take one of the best players out of your area. I can remember when I was at Florida State, they could come into Florida and grab a guy that we legitimately wanted. Not just a guy that maybe an offer was thrown out there,
right,
but was a guy that we wanted. They can go into and they'll beat you on him. They come into Florida and they could beat you on the kid. They can go into Georgia and I heard Kirby say it. Hey, when they played Notre Dame 2 years in a row, I remember him in the pregame interview saying, "Well, I like playing them because we battle them in recruiting all the time."
Yeah.
And he's not talking about recruits in Indiana. He's talking about recruits in Georgia.
Atlanta.
Yes, I mean Notre Dame can go anywhere and get players. So you and I know the talent level that's at that place because of the recruiting battles that we've had with Notre Dame in our own backyards. I mean, it was amazing to me. I'm at Florida State, and I'm like, there was like 3 or 4 kids a year in Florida we could not beat Notre Dame on. You know, it was just the way it was. And
go ahead, I'm sorry.
They have talent at the elite level. And if they put it together.
Yep. I'm also going with this one too now, is when they put it together, but you got to remember who's the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame right now in his first year.
Marcus Freeman. Yep.
Who came from?
Cincinnati.
He's going to know.
Same with. Yeah.
He's going to know.
He's going to know. You're exactly right. And from a motivation standpoint too. Yep. You know what I mean? And from a motivation standpoint for Brian Kelly. I mean, Brian Kelly went to Notre Dame from Cincinnati. You know what I mean? So I'm with you 100% on that. You and I, and that's why you're saying they play down to their level, because you and I know how good of players they have on their team.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
Yep. Here we go.
I agree with you on that pick.
All right, that's scary, man. That's 2. All right, so that is I have now picked 1, 2, 3, 4. So what is your 4th pick?
All right, my 4th pick is Baylor at Oklahoma State. Baylor is 3.5-point favorites. Or no, Oklahoma State is 3.5-point favorites, and I'm taking Baylor. I think Baylor will either win this game or keep it between 3.5. Yes. I mean, they're playing really good football. I think they're in stride, too. I mean, just come off a win at Iowa State. Now, obviously, Iowa State has not played up to the potential that we all anticipated from them this year, but they're still a good team. And Baylor rolled into Ames, Iowa, which is not an easy place to play because it's unique. And they beat them, and they're running the football. I mean, they have a legit running attack. And I think that Baylor's going to keep this game within 3.5, if not win it.
Like that pick. The good football team's sneaky. Like, nobody's talking about them. They're just winning games.
Right.
All right. How about this? Go ahead and pick your 5th pick. I'm going to defer because your last pick is going to be my 5th and 6th pick. I'll get to that in a second. So go ahead, your 5th pick. Who you got?
So Florida is at Kentucky, and Florida's 8.5-point favorites. And obviously, I'm going to let you guys know I'm biased. You know, I coached at Kentucky for 4 years. Was there when we took it over, and you know, we turned it around, and I was very proud of that. Love Lexington, love Mark, love Eddie. But I still think that Kentucky is going to keep this game within 8.5 points.
That one surprised me a little bit. I was surprised Vegas let that get to 2 scores.
Yeah, when it gets to 2 scores, that's when it will really turn your head. You know, and this one's a 2-score game. And, you know, Kentucky's gone down since Mark's been there. You know, the only team in the SEC East that Mark has not beaten is Georgia. I mean, Mark's gone down to the Swamp and beat Florida in the Swamp.
I remember that, yep.
You know what I mean? Our second year there, we lost in double overtime at the Swamp. Okay, we lost in double overtime at the Swamp. Okay, I mean, Kentucky always plays Florida tight. I mean, always plays Florida tight.
And am I on hallucinogenics, or is like, since the history of time, it seems like to me that every time Florida goes to Kentucky, it's always a struggle, right? Isn't it like, am I correct? Like even back in the Spurs days.
No, year 3 when I was at Kentucky in year 3, we lost to Florida 14-7 at Kentucky. We lost to them 14-7. So every year that I was associated with Kentucky, and since I've left, that has been a tight ball game. A tight ball game. Even was that last year or the year before that? I think it was 2 years ago where Kyle Trask came in. Because
Felipe got hurt.
Felipe got hurt, and that was at Kentucky. Kentucky was winning when Felipe went out. Yeah. And Kyle Trask comes in and wins them back and takes them on to victory. And that was at Kentucky. That game was at Kentucky. Yeah, so they always play them close. You know, always play them close.
I'm an honorary Big Blue Nation fan. I got, you know, especially with my man Eddie now. I got my man John Summerall. I'm an honorary Big Blue Nation pulling for him. So.
Yeah, well, it's a good one to be a fan of. That's a good ball club.
All right, we saved this one for last. We got to talk about it. You know, it's been. I will say this. I have broken this game down probably more than any game I've broken down since I've been coaching. Since I quit coaching. I mean, I've watched game film. I mean, I'm in this one deep. Okay, I'm in this one deep. I feel so good about my picks on this that I wish I could go lock 2, lock 3. That's how good I feel about this pick. All right. So I will start with my 5th pick. The Ole Miss Rebels are going to Tuscaloosa on Saturday. Ole Miss is underdogs. Alabama is favored by 14.5 points This line's moved a ton, up and down both ways. I am taking. We're going to lose like 900 listeners off this comment. All right. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm really having I can't believe I'm about to say this. I really can't believe I'm about to say this. I am taking Ole Miss plus 14.5 points against the Crimson Tide. I have gone back and forth. I have looked. Are you shaking your head at me already before I even? I may even lose you on today. I may be doing a podcast by myself next week. I may even lose you. I honestly, here's where I'm at. Okay. 1, 2's got to stay healthy. And I'm going to let y'all know right now. If something happens to Matt Corral, knock on wood, because I love him, you might as well go ahead and turn the TV off. Okay. Ole Miss with Matt. Here's something that I don't think has been said in a long time. The best college football player in that game Saturday will not be wearing a Crimson Tide uniform. When's the last time that's been said?
Long time.
Matt Corrales will be the best college football player on that field Saturday. I think the way he's playing right now, he's always been talented. That has never, from the day I saw him, I was like, I think I've said this on here before. He has arguably the most talent I've ever seen with my own eyes on a quarterback. Decision-making, maturity, which he came through. He's a fiery guy, but he learned how to harness that. Decision-making, all that stuff. He is playing right now as well. I hated that they had a bye week. It was almost like you didn't want to have a bye week. Wish they could just keep rolling because of the rhythm he was in. Alabama's got some issues on defense from a schematic standpoint of what they're fixing to face. That's the truth. I will know. I told somebody this morning. I will know within the first drive of the game how Alabama's playing Ole Miss on defense. They have to if they want a chance to win, they have to get up and challenge the receivers, okay? Because if you sit back and try to play coverage against these guys, all you're doing is letting the band warm up a little bit before they actually play the fight song. They're going to score. They're going to drive down the field. Like, somebody's band is going to play. And so instead of, if you sit back and play coverage against these guys, you're going to get up 40, 50 points. That's what's going to happen. So why not get up and challenge them? Because here's the truth, too. I know what the roster is at Ole Miss very well, okay? If you line up and had a one-on-one contest between the Alabama DBs and the Ole Miss wide receivers, Alabama's DBs will win, okay? So get up and challenge them. You have to do everything you can to take number 2, Matt Corral, out of the game, okay? Get up. Let's play two-man, okay? Because your X's are better than their O's still, okay? Except for number 2. He's the only one. But everywhere else, your X's are better than their O's. So take the one X out of the game, Matt Corral, and let's play 10 on 10. Let's play 10 on 10 and see what happens. That's where it's going to be. If he sits back, if he comes with the same game plan that he rolled out against Florida, it's going to be a long night for the Crimson Tide fan. It will. It could get ugly because they're going to put so much pressure if you do that, scoring points and getting you out of your rhythm. Number 2.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, you go.
All right, you go.
I don't know what Coach Saban's game plan is going to be against Ole Miss. Okay, I have no idea. But I can tell you this. From what I know about following Alabama and Nick Saban from a college coach's standpoint, if there was one game that he was studying in the offseason to make sure that he had the right game plan, it was this one. So it's going to be interesting. All I'm going to tell you is it's going to be interesting. It's not one of those situations where he ran what he ran against Florida last week and then they're going to try to tweak it a little bit and run it against this week. He's had this game plan set probably since the summer, and I wouldn't be surprised if he hasn't been practicing the calls that he's going to run this week during training camp, and he already knows what he's going to do because of what happened last year. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, you're not off base with that, and I'll say what I know. Okay, one, I haven't talked to him and asked him has he been watching Ole Miss film all season. When I do talk to him, it's not about that. Okay, but 2 is this, talking about Coach Saban. All right, and I've said this on this podcast before. I know when I got there, okay, he had lost to Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M the year before. okay? And all I know is every day that he went home, okay, this guy's a machine, by the way. He would watch, recruiting tape, and then he would always have us load up game film. He watched one game or one team the entire offseason, and that was Texas A&M. I don't know this to be fact because I haven't asked him, but I would find it hard to believe that one team that he watched all offseason wasn't Ole Miss. Point 2 that you just made about you wouldn't be surprised if he snuck some calls in there. Okay, he does that a lot. Okay, so what we would do during the bye week, and the players would never know it, right? So the bye week at Alabama, you think it's like regular practice or camp days and stuff like that. And so when you started making that transition to getting ready for game plan week, instead of using that extra week, he would script. It was literally like you had a day. The kids had no idea. Okay, players have no idea, but you would break off into scout teams, and hey, today is an Ole Miss day, or today is a Texas A&M day. The coaches knew that, players didn't. So you would script and card and work all your calls out, okay, and communication, your checks and things like that, and get it on tape so he could teach off of it. Guarantee you he's done that at some point in time. Hasn't had a bye week yet, but guarantee you he's done it at some point in time. And so it happens. So I'm with you. I don't know like that. I just can't believe I did that. We just lost 900 listeners. So, and look, I call a spade a spade. I think it's, and all kidding aside, from a gambling standpoint, it's 14.5 points. Okay, this game could be a 21-point game, and Ole Miss, because look, Ole Miss is going to try to score every time. I mean, Lane wants to score 60. Like, I don't even think he cares how many the defense gives up if he can score 60 against Nick. I mean, I really don't think he would be just as happy winning the game as he would. I really think Lane would rather lose 69-70 to Alabama than he would win 3-0. I think he would be more happy with a 69-70 loss. But and
Lane is so unique that wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean?
I don't.
How about the two? Can we just say this? How about the unique head coaches that we have in the state of Mississippi? You got Lane Kiffin and Mike Leach. I mean, if you don't have a media's dream in that state right now, I mean, those people in Mississippi that are covering those teams, this is like a dream for them. The things that those two guys would say in press conferences.
Yep, they love it. They love it. All right, Eddie. I said I called you. We're missing Eddie already. All right, DJ. Your last pick. Who you got?
All right, my last pick, okay? My last pick is the same game, okay? My last pick is the exact same game, but I'm not messing with the spread, okay? I'm messing with the over. It's at 77.5, and I think that more than 77.5 points will be scored in this football game.
Guess what, DJ? Do you know what my last pick is?
I do not.
It is I'm going double down. The Ole Miss. I mean, I've studied it. I haven't studied a game like this since like 2019. The Ole Miss Alabama over at 77.5. DJ,
wow.
They could put 90 on this thing. I don't care what it goes to. Okay, because this is why I've been really debating about this back and forth. Okay, and this is where I could be wrong. I'm going to tell you where I can be wrong, but I'm going to tell you why I came to what I came to. Okay, Ole Miss's offense right now is clicking like an offense that hasn't been seen in a long time. Okay, I don't think it matters who they play. Okay, I just think they're going to score. He scored, and it wasn't like. Here's what people don't understand. It wasn't like Nick didn't know what was coming last year either, and they scored at will last year too. And it became this scoring match, okay? Now, the difference is last year, and somebody could please fact check me, but it was like 23 or 33, I don't know how many yards it was. Alabama literally had almost as many total yards as humanly possible. Like, I think if they played against air, they only would have gained another 33 yards or 23 yards or something. It was some crazy stat. I don't think that happens again, but I still think they score at will. They still got dudes, okay? I want to see this new odd hybrid 6DB dime odd package that everybody likes Iowa States and Arkansas and all these people. I want to see that stop freaking Brian Robinson. That's what I want to see. Okay, I'm good seeing it stop Tulane. I'm good seeing it stop Austin Peay. You know, Louisville figured out a little bit in the second half. They didn't score every time they touched the football. I want to see it stop Brian Robinson down there. I want to see it stop Roydell Williams. I want to see it stop the Boots and Bryce Young. I want to see them cover somebody because they're going to have to cover people now. I think that's another big difference that people don't realize is those DBs that are back there trying to, like, run fit are going to have to now be covering receivers. And so there's going to be some play-action bombs hit by Alabama on Saturday. Okay? Number 2 reason that I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and we talked about this last week. Lane is going to play as fast as humanly possible. The only problem with that is Alabama's going to have the ball more. Okay? They're going to get more chances too. The amount of possessions, there's going to be more possessions in this game than a normal game. Because I really don't see Nick like going, okay, we're going to slow it down and tempo. I don't see Nick doing that. I think he thinks he can score, he's going to score. I think he's turned around and gone to the dark side on that. But I just think this is a high-scoring game. And I've said this all along because I went back and forth on this. If I'm wrong, here's where I'm wrong, DJ. If Alabama solves the mystery, because they're talented enough to do it, if they solve the mystery of Ole Miss's offense and start slowing them down, Alabama could boat race them. They could blow them out. But I only see two different turns in this game here. It's either a shootout. I'm talking about a shootout of all shootouts, which is where I'm leaning, and Ole Miss wins that game. I think they even win the game. I'll talk about that in a second. Ole Miss has a chance to win the game. Or Alabama solves the mystery and just boat races them. I don't think there's any in between, as crazy as that sounds.
It's definitely going to be probably the most watched game this week. I mean, it is. It really is hyped up because of the score last year, and of course with Lane being a former Alabama assistant, and and Nick never losing to his former assistants, and I mean this game is going to be one that all eyes are going to be tuned into for sure.
Yep, and then so I kind of let the cat out of the bag there, and we'll wrap it up on this because I promised Raquel we'd try to keep it shorter this week. It's not if you are a gambling man. If you're listening to this and you're a gambling man, it's not if you want to really, really gamble. It's not out of the realm of possibilities to play sprinkle just a little bit, little fairy dust on the Ole Miss money line on this game. Like if they win the game, DJ, I'm not going to be surprised. I'm taking the points because it's the safest thing. I'm not going to be surprised. Just saying. I can't believe I just said that.
I know, and you know what?
Like
I think
Apple
after last week, you're feeling confident. That's the deal. You got up onto a winning record last week, and you're feeling confident. I mean, you're going out there on a limb this week.
Apple may cancel our podcast.
You go for it.
I just said that. They may. Apple may cancel our podcast. I can't believe I just said that. I call a spade a spade. I can't believe I just said that. Like I don't even know because I've always been the guy that's like everybody's like, oh, it's always the week Alabama's going to lose. It's always the week. I'm beside myself. Like my mom and dad, my dad when he hears this, my dad may not talk to me for 2 weeks.
I know. I can only imagine.
Because my dad's die hard now.
I can only imagine.
Alabama fan. So my mom, she was an Auburn fan, so she doesn't care. But my dad may not talk to me for 2 weeks. I can't believe I just said that. So